The Utah governor did not apologize. He should resign. That were the words of American. And did I support this? Yes. Because the whole sitting governor sat down, prayed for 33 hours when crime happened. He never prayed when there was no crime. He never prayed when other people were getting pew-pewed. But now, it is someone of influence. It is someone of the politics. It is someone of the white supremacy. So he has to sit down and pray for 33 good hours. Meanwhile, he has 365 days. He has different days that he was supposed to pray that, Father, Lord, help crime to reduce in this country. Help Orange Man to drop tariff. Help this country to be able to start doing their importing and exporting. He never did that. He only went ahead, go on his knees to pray to God and say, Father, may this person not be one of us. What do we call this? Karma, right? Let's get right into this video. Let me roll out the clips for you guys so that you can hear from what other Americans are saying and why they are saying he should either apologize or resign. Because why? He has let the cat out of the bag. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit belongs to original creators of this video. This video is just for educational purposes. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go, guys.
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here.
Here's the truth we all know. This country is not going to find internal peace or unity until the right wing learns to have some accountability for their words. The Utah governor should be resigning or abjectly apologizing today. That man did something incompetent, grotesque, disgusting, a complete violation of the public trust, and no one even notices. He stood at a press conference 2 days ago, right after Charlie Kirk was killed, and talked about the motive before they had a suspect. That is so egregious. He talked about the great American experiment and that this was a political assassination, inferring, assuming, implying that it was a leftist, liberal Democrat trying to affect political narrative. So too the entire right-wing echo chamber, so too all the right-wing leaders all said that. They're all wrong, completely wrong. But will you hear that from any of them? Will any of them apologize for inciting and inflaming the public with a false narrative? No, you will not. Nor will you hear them say this: you were right, liberals, leftists, Democrats. It's the guns. By which I mean gun culture. I am not talking about hunting. I'm not talking about teaching your children about safe use of guns in the woods. I am talking about gun culture where adolescent boys are bathed in assault rifles and photographed with them and learn to use guns as a mode of expression and self-empowerment. I am talking about political leaders who wear assault rifles on their lapels as a symbol. That's the problem. 1,500 mass shootings in the last 25 years. That's the problem. This is another case of the same problem. But until Republicans admit that they're wrong when they talk without facts, and then admit who was right about the facts.
Exactly. And now they're going to have to deal with the fact that it was not the left. It wasn't the intolerable left. It was literally a right-winger with a gun. I'm really fucking tired of all of these people blaming groups instead of individuals committing crimes.
When Utah's governor said he was hoping it wasn't one of them, well, it was. One of y'all, all of y'all. That's what y'all do. It's a lot of that going out here in these streets. And as a black person, I don't want to get hit with the casualties, so I'm going to stay out y'all way.
They said, I watched a press conference about the Charlie Kirk school shooting and how they caught a suspect. Governor of Utah, FBI director, standing up there talking about how they caught a 22-year-old man named Tyler Robinson, how his dad is a MAGA Mormon minister cop. They talked about how they found shell casings from a 30-06 with phrases written on them because every shooter got to write a phrase on a shell casing now because everybody got to copy everybody. And they get up there and they're talking about it and they start reading what was on the shell casings. And I was like, yo, what? That was an ooh-woo. That was an that's what they said. The governor of Utah is not online enough to read it that way. And there's no way he would read it that way. This is how he read the first shell casing, which is, I believe, the shell casing that took out Charlie Kirk. Because it was the only spent shell casing and only took one shot to take out Charlie, okay? This is how he read it. Notice his bulges, capital OWO, what's this question mark, was written on the spent shell casing. But here's the thing, if you're deep enough online, you know that that's not how you read that. How you're supposed to read that is, notice his bulges. Ew, what's this? That's how that's supposed to be read. We live in a deeply, deeply flawed and unserious world where people are constantly trying to cause and create chaos to accelerate their worldview into some sort of fantasy land that won't actually happen, even if they get their wish. And now we're all trapped here together, staring around, trying to figure out which Discord kitten wronged a shooter that then scarred the lives of, I want to say, about 3,000 people who were staring at a man in a tent. That's where we are now.
To the Utah governor, why do you need it to be someone else? I mean, we know why, but I just want to hear it from you. I hope a reporter follows up on that you were hoping that was a foreigner or someone that wasn't a part of your community and it wasn't one of you guys. I'm very curious at how we're going to approach that line of questioning. Now, you did mention a death penalty. My question is, are you still about the life?
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for.
Exactly. That's what I thought. He was not black. He wasn't trans. He was not Muslim, definitely. It's a real concern that at the end of the day, it was one of you, not one of us.
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country.
And there you have it. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said he prayed for 33 hours that the killer wasn't one of us. What he meant was clear. He was praying it wasn't a white Republican. He wanted to pin it on a black person, a Latino, an Asian, an immigrant, someone queer, someone trans. He wanted anyone else to take the blame. That's not praying. That's bigotry. That's scapegoating. And it tells you exactly where his priorities lie. Protecting his party instead of facing reality. That the violence is coming from within. Well, sir, your prayers weren't answered. Tyler Robinson was a registered Republican, homegrown in Utah. A white Republican.
So you mean to tell me that the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, spent all of this time while they were looking for a suspect praying that he was not from this country? Huh? But what I'm hearing him say is that you were praying that it was someone who was a person of color or someone who migrated here from another country, aka an immigrant, because an overwhelming majority of the population in Utah is white. I don't know, it feels like coded language to me. And why were you praying for that? Why wouldn't you just be praying that the person who was responsible for killing Charlie Kirk was caught? That should have been the only prayer. Demographics and place of birth shouldn't matter. You should have been solely focused on the fact that somebody lost their life and you wanted to get justice for that person. No? No, sir, that is not why. The reason you were praying for that is because you were ready to blame another demographic of people to continue to make yourself and the population that you serve look like they're good people. but the data says otherwise.
If any of you watched the press conference today, I want to talk about what the governor of Utah said, which was that he really hoped that it wasn't someone from his state. He went on to say that he hoped it was someone from another state. He hoped it was someone from another country. Now, then he goes on to say that the division in the politics needs to stop. He in no way gave a speech today to me that would say, oh, he wants it to stop. I thought my governor was bad. Ugh. Tate Reeves, jeez. I thought he was radicalized. When you think about the stuff that he was saying, the governor, his mind shows to me that he is more focused on blaming actual problems here in America on homegrown soil. They are so much more focused on finding other reasons to blame stuff on, just like a narcissist, right? When they know that there is really a problem, they are so much more focused on finding other reasons to excuse the problem. It's a homegrown terroristic act, just like all of the other school shootings. And that's the issue that needs to be fixed. It's not looking for people outside of your state or out of the country. You know, this is here. This is at home. This is something that needs to be addressed again. And one last thing I want to talk about. I looked at a lot of the comments that were going on during that live, and oh my God, so many threats on left-leaners.
Understand it now. I get it. Y'all can't stand the mirror that's been put in front of your face. All of the shit that y'all have been serving for the last few decades now against minority communities. Y'all can't stand having to look at it when it affects you. See, that's the thing. I finally get it. It took me a lot of time because I'm thinking, why are people reacting so violently to this? And it reminds me of the very first event that I had when I was escaping the alt-right pipeline and changing my mindset of that. Was that anger and violence. Because see, here's the thing. And here's the thing you really don't understand because you refuse to put yourself in other people's shoes and actually be empathetic to other people's situations. How do y'all think the black community has felt for the last 5 years since George Floyd has died? All the memes y'all shared about that. How do you think they felt about the memes about Breonna Taylor, you know, the woman who was gunned down in her sleep during a no-knock raid? How do you think the Latino community has felt for the last 8 months with y'all cheering Trump for his deportation efforts and buying merch for Alligator Alcatraz and egging it on that human suffering is a great thing for this country? How do you think the gay community felt with all the jokes y'all made about the Pulse nightclub shooting a few years back in Orlando that killed 50 plus people in a predominantly gay club? You are truly experiencing for the first time how it tastes. The hatred y'all have been spilling out of your guts for years finally comes back at you. And that's the thing you don't like. But you know what? The funny thing about all of it is, where's the black community calling for war with how you have treated them? Where's the Latino community going up in arms and calling for war? And no, fighting off ICE and protesting, that is not war. That is civil disobedience, and that is our First Amendment right. But calling for the bloodshed of innocent civilians because they make jokes about a dead man who spent his entire political career actively making these communities worse with his rhetoric and their situations worse? Where's their calls for war? See, you're just now kind of coming out of the illusion that your hatred and bigotry that you claim is free speech is free of consequences from the actions of what you just...
Well, fucking well. What do you know? It looks like they caught the Charlie Kirk shooter suspect. And who could have guessed that he would be a Republican-raised Mormon incel who went as Donald Trump for Halloween and also carved on the bullets, or bullet casings, I'm not sure exactly which, carved on them the message, if you're seeing this, you're gay. LMAO. This is the mastermind we're working with here. And not to fan the flames of conspiracy theories, but I know you're all seeing them, and I know you know which ones I'm talking about. But the fact that there was a very swift, coordinated response from Republican politicians, policymakers, influencers, normies, everyone really, to get out there first and say that this was a Democrat. What are they going to say now? And I mean, obviously this is not our first rodeo. We know that they're not going to concede or admit that they were wrong. They're just going to double down or pivot completely away from it and hope that everyone forgets. And also, I do think it's very important to say that when I say they caught him, I do not mean the FBI. I do not mean Kash Patel, because this kid's dad turned him in after he confessed, presumably guilty conscience or something. And as a matter of fact, Kash Patel actually arrested the wrong person, announced that he arrested that person incorrectly, and had to release him. And after all the effort, all the manpower, all the resources they put into this, they couldn't even find him. His dad turned him in. And of course, we may likely never know the answer to this question, but it really makes you think. Were they ever really intending on finding him? Or was Republicans' vested interest in this no longer there anymore? Was the task at hand already complete? Makes you think, makes you think. Comment below. What do you think? Theoretically, of course. And while I have you, be sure, like, repost, share with a friend, because they got him, guys. And it was exactly who we thought it was. And be sure to follow me for more updates like this, because there's got—
You only ever say it online, because when you do say it to someone's face, you almost always outnumber them 5-1. You almost always catch people in situations where they're at a disadvantage, so when you say these things, you're protected. But now with Charlie, in his situation, you're having to come to reality for the first time of the vile and awful things that you believe in, and you don't like it. You're having to eat that. You're having to stare it in the face, and what's your first response? To be violent and angry towards innocent people. Because you scream that everyone's entitled to their opinion. You love dark humor, but the second you see people making jokes about Charlie Kirk being gone, oh, that's too far? Oh, that's too far. The Halloween costumes of George Floyd being strangled to death. Oh, let's not even glaze over the fact that I'm seeing a bunch of posts going, congratulations, George Floyd, for being 5 years sober, because he's dead. But now you want us to care. You're now noticing just how little actual emotion, like how little actual empathy and sympathy exist amongst your own ranks. Because the funniest thing about this entire situation is the fact that it was one of your own that killed him. It was a 22-year-old white kid from Utah who came from a conservative GOP family that loved Trump. And he was a registered Republican. So if you really, really, really think you want war or bloodshed with innocent people, how about you look in a mirror? And why don't you sit there for a few days and actually digest and break down your beliefs? Because I'm sure it's screaming at you. From the inside, I remember feeling that a lot whenever I was younger in the alt-right, was there's this interior voice that's screaming that the things you are saying and doing are wrong, but you don't care because it's getting you brownie points with the people around you because you've surrounded yourself with hateful people. How about you actually think for a few days on your politics and your beliefs? Because at the moment, y'all are disgusting. Y'all call us disgusting for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. We think you're disgusting because really Charlie Kirk is no different than any child that has been shot in a school for the last fucking 2 decades. The things we have been trying to prevent, the things we've been trying to stop, the pain that these incidents cause families. Yeah, how about you think about which side you've been fighting on?
Governor, a sitting governor. The only speech he could say is he was praying for 33 hours. Why didn't he pray for 72 hours? Why was he not praying for 365 days? Why was he not praying for 20 years? So that God can actually make a lot of people that are committing crimes not to be one of them. He wishes from another country. He wishes from another region. He wishes that they are from blacks. He wishes that when they catch that person, they are going to be Mexican American. He wishes that they are Latinas. He wishes that it never got to do with a white person. But it's a shame. Because karma is gradually catching up. And karma will continue to catch up. And karma will continue to show forth itself. Because instead of them sitting down to think how they are going to be solving individual crimes and knowing how they can actually stop these crimes to keep happening, the only thing they will always open their mouth to say is, I wish. It is a slap in the face of the president. It is a slap in the face of the whole youth. It is a slap to black people. We don't need to paint this. This is not painting. Let's just assume that reverse is the case. Let's just assume that this so-called person that was caught is a black person. By now, it would have been a different story. Let's assume that this person that was caught is from another country. By now, it would have been a different story. But mind you, this is not the first pew-pew that has been happening. A lot of pew-pew have been going on. A lot of pew-pew have been happening. Schools with the same faces. If you check the video I uploaded yesterday, the same similar faces, the same age range, the same haircuts and the rest of that. And you cannot say as a governor, how do we retract these things? How do we make things better? How do we start blaming individuals for committing crime so that some other individuals that have not committed will learn? So that even if they want to go and commit any crime, by the time they see how this particular person is being punished, they'll be able to retract their act. No, that is not what the governor is concerned about. The governor was really concerned about him praying for 33 hours. So he really do know how to pray, and he did not pray for US tariffs to go down. So the governor really do know how to pray. And he did not pray for farmers to start selling their products. But yes, when it is Charlie, when it is someone that matters in the society, he now have to go on his knees to pray for 33 hours that this shouldn't be their person. Shame. 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 And I totally agreed with that man that said he better apologize or he resign. The best thing is for him to even resign, because I don't think he knows the detriment of that words that he used. If you check the first clip of the video that I played, you can see the faces of the so-called bodyguards. They're staring like, how did you even voice? Who told you to expose what we have been talking about in the backyard door? Who told you to voice it out? It was not meant to be said out. That was their expression. That was their reaction. It was meant to be kept secret. Oh, now you've gone ahead because you have mic and the media, the camera are in your eyes. You have split or let the cats out of the bag. Look at their faces. Look at their expressions. If you haven't seen it, go back to the first clip I played in this video. That's sad. I pray these people wake up early to start knowing how to control young ones for committing further crimes, instead of looking for lefty, righty, backy, fronty to be blaming. Honestly, when I watched that, I was pissed. When I watched that, I got more irritated. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, comment, and share. This video is just for educational purpose. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Credit belongs to the original creators of every clips and stitches used in today's episode. I stand a chance to be corrected. This is me giving my own honest opinion, the way I feel. With no further ado, I'm going to be Siban. I'll see you guys in my next one. Subscribe. Bye.